I resent deeply the idea that I had to ask for a strike mandate. It means that I'm not going to come in to teach. You see the dilemma here. By hurting you, that's what moves the administration and the employer.
It's not where we want to go. It's really not where we want to go. We don't want to put a hardship on the students. We don't. That's never been our intention. But there comes a time if that, and I hope that we will move there. But the reality is that the university administration, because it's not the community that feels this way. We have the support of the community. But it is really the administration who, I suspect, they need to take a look at their priorities.
Generally speaking, from what I feel and what I hear and what I'm told, is that the university does not really want to negotiate. And what can you do? I mean, it can go to arbitration, or it can go to strike. And now we have a strike mandate. As of our last general meeting, we actually have a strike mandate. And I think that's perfect. This is real live legal stuff. This is labor law. This is way before whether it's in a university or not. Everybody deals with these same kinds of things regardless.
We have 1,200 people such as myself at this university who teach 40% of the courses. We've been negotiating a collective agreement. I'm a union president. I'm not extreme. It's important not to be extreme and strident. If you want to succeed, I have no choice but to work within the environment that I have and with the employer I have.
I think if I were to look at the business model, the corporate model seems to be more and more taking root in our educational system.
The labor of a product has become fragmented. The same goes for teaching. They're fragmenting the teaching profession. Teaching assistants are going to be used more and more in tutorial leaders, which means as follows. You will be put in classrooms of 500 to 600 to 700 students. You will never be able to speak to the professor. Then the class is divided, that class of 600, 700, is divided into smaller groups, and you have a tutorial leader. And you also have a teaching assistant. So one does the grading. You know, you get the professor who does the main lecture. You have another person who follows your text and helps you with that in a tutorial. You have somebody else grading. In other words, there's no difference between that and getting the buttons of your vehicle made in Mexico, the car seats being made in Brazil, the engine being made, you know, in China. There's no difference to that. The job is becoming fragmented. Now, I may be able to rationalize the making of a product, but the teaching profession is not about products. You are not my client, and you're not my product. You are a human being. And learning occurs when classes are sufficiently small and there's contact time.
I think that if I'm teaching, I should have access to an environment where I can meet my students It's impossible for me to set up office hours because I can't guarantee I will have an office to go to. I have to find an empty classroom and an empty breakout room because we have breakout rooms. And if there's nothing available because it's during the day and all the classes are being used, I end up going to the cafeteria with my student, or maybe to the library if I can get one of those rooms.
But it's money, because you can have 800 students registered for an online course.
I always thought the whole thing about education is that it could actually develop without those kinds of biases. At the end of this year, it'll be 6 years. We haven't had a pay increase in 6 years. We haven't had our benefits adjusted in 6 years. There's all kinds of, there's a million different things in the contract, none of which have been altered in the least.
To begin with, I'm not paid pro rata. So for all the money in the piggy bank that goes to teaching at Concordia, a full-time teacher who gets paid, let's say, $1, I get paid 17 cents for the same course. That is a gross inequity and pay inequity.
We are not seen as academically worthy of receiving recognition.
There's a real dichotomous thought going on here, and the way we are treated is as if we are failures because we didn't go on to get PhDs.
But we're practitioners, and as practitioners, we bring the real education, the real world education.
I'm fighting for a little more job security and stability rather than running around having to worry every single term the course I'm going to get, where I'm going to teach, what am I going to teach. You don't know what professors you get. You have a right to know what professors you get when you register in a course. But all you know is TBA, to be announced.
I have to apply every semester for my courses, and I never know from one semester to the next what I'll be teaching.
So I mean, it can't be good for the students to have that happen. You have a course that's being taught, you expect to have some kind of continuity with it. And the continuity should be built in. It shouldn't be dependent on me.
They provide me with no computer. They provide me with no internet.
I don't just show up in the classroom, teach, and leave. I make myself available. I provide a cell phone number for my students. I meet my students on many occasions in not necessarily the best circumstances. I provide, I keep up with the computer programs. I make sure that I have the equipment that I need. But this is all coming out of my pocket. I'm not in any way subsidized by the university for these things.